As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. Good fellas, wise guys.
Sammy the Bull Gravano has been doing a press run since his release from prison in 2017 after leaving the witness protection program and becoming an ecstasy kingpin in Arizona after ratting out his boss John Gotti back in the 1990s. Since Sammy's release, he's been making the rounds to any radio station or podcast that will listen to tell his story and promote his new YouTube channel and podcast. But the problem is, Gravano has been lying to his audience about his reason for turning on his one-time friend and boss of the New York Gambino crime family, John Gotti. According to the man prosecuting the case, former New York mob prosecutor John Gleeson, what Sammy has been saying as of late isn't the same thing as he told Gleeson personally when Gleeson questioned Gravano on his motive to flip on Gotti during the 1991 trial, which will ultimately end with the Teflon Don being convicted and sentenced to life in prison, where Gotti would go on to pass of throat cancer while chained to a bunk in federal prison. In a recent article from the New York Post, Gleeson gives details on what Sammy told him while meeting in a private jury room in a downtown Brooklyn federal courthouse as per Sammy's request back in 1991 during Gleeson's second murder trial against the Teflon Don, after being asked by Gleeson why Gravano decided to cooperate against his former boss. In this video, we're going to compare what Sammy is now saying compared to what he told Gleeson back then, after telling Gleeson, quote, "I want to jump from our government to yours," referring to the hierarchy of La Cosa Nostra. Before getting into why Sammy really cooperated on Gotti, we're first going to play a video clip of the news story Gravano is selling to his audience and what I believe is his attempt to soften viewers to the fact he's a full-blown rat, and make his stories easier to digest for the people out there who normally wouldn't approve of tattletales, as well as try to change history and belittle John Gotti, who's no longer here to defend himself. Because let's face it, nobody wants to be known as a rat. But before we break this down, keep in mind, John Gotti stood tall until the day he died, never speaking to any law enforcement, and should be remembered that way.
There's a part where you tell that I saw you, where they were talking about how you asked the feds to let you get back in prison for 2 weeks to be able to face off with John, to tell him to his face that you're about to flip. Were you in that moment conflicted whether you were going to tell him or whether you were going to kill him? Like your decision hadn't been yet made?
I was going to kill him. Me and Frankie Licasio, when we were in prison, it was out there. Frankie agreed. That was the story. And that's why John put a contract on him. We met in the hall. Frankie told me, he said, "Sammy, nobody ever talked to me like this in my life." He had tears running down his face. Tough guy. True tough guy. I looked at that, it was sickening. He said, "I'm gonna kill this motherfucker." I said, "Frankie, we already killed the boss, gonna kill another one?" And I was just as mad as he was with John at that point. And he says, "Yeah, you sure?" "Yeah." I put my hand out. As soon as we get out, we'll kill him. I was so fucked up in the brain by this betrayal, I didn't even think we could have just killed him right then and there. Sharpen up a couple of shanks, the two of us. Walk into the cell, I'll cut his throat, you keep stabbing, or you want to do it the other way around. But instead, we were so fucked up with him. We were talking about a victory party. There was going to be no victory party. That's how we were going to kill him. And he told me, he said, "Sammy, all I want to pull the trigger with it. Because pulling it to us, hey guys, once you've done it, who cares who pulls the trigger?" And I told him, "If that's what you want, you got it. I'll have my guys, I'll bring them to a restaurant and I'll get rid of the body. And then we'll claim he never showed up or whatever." I said, "But one more thing, Frankie. I'll never ever be anybody else's underboss again in my fucking life. Never. I'll be the boss when we get out and we kill him, or I'll fucking die trying. Said Sammy, I'll be your underboss, I'll be your captain, I'll be whatever you want, I'll be behind you 1,000%. All I want to do is pull the trigger with him. I put my fucking hand out, we shook hands, and we left. That weird mentality that we were so hurt, that's what we thought, we walked away, and then we got separated, we couldn't kill him no more. And then finally, we had this meeting on August, middle of August, with F. Bailey. And he tells F. Bailey, I'm not gonna do the time, don't worry about it, we're gonna go to a victory party. F. Bailey tells him, no, this case is too strong, you ain't going to no victory party. No, don't worry about it. Sammy and Frankie, they're gonna take the fucking weight here. F. Bailey wouldn't take the case because of that statement, and he was in an interview just recently with Jerry Capizzi, as I said. 3 months was August, September, October, November. 3 months later, in November, he sits with me personally. We're gonna work with the lawyers. You're gonna take the weight, and I'm gonna go free. You really want that, John? The boss has to be on the street. Okay, and I flipped. First time in my life. I've pinched all my life. From 14 years old.
This part of the video
up until
will be
fucking
paraphrased from what
40-something
was written in the April 30th, 2022 New York Post article written by Brad Hamilton, and a link for the article will be posted in the description. According to federal prosecutor John Gleeson, while he was getting ready for the 1991 murder trial of John Gotti, he received word that Gravano wanted to meet with him without his lawyer present. Gleeson, having prosecuted mobsters before, knew the only way an underboss would ever ask to meet without his lawyer present would be if they were about to turn government witness. And Gleeson knew if any of the prisoners around Gotti were to hear that Gravano was meeting with the guy prosecuting the case, they would 100% take Sammy the Bull out. So Gleeson arranged for a private meeting in a jury room in a downtown Brooklyn courthouse. Gleeson shook Gravano's hand, and Gravano immediately told Gleeson he wanted to switch teams to the prosecution side. And when Gleeson asked him why he decided to flip, Gravano told Gleeson he thought if him and Gotti were to beat the case, that he believed Gotti was going to kill him, and went on to say he would either have to kill or be killed, and if he killed Gotti, he would also have to kill John's brothers, Pete and Gene Gotti, as well as his son, John Gotti Jr., and many others. He was also quoted saying things would get complicated. The writer of the article pointed out, this is just one of the revelations out of many in John Gleeson's new book, The Gotti Wars, Taking Down America's Most Notorious Mobster, which he said is based on Gleeson's two-time prosecutions of Gotti from 1987 to 1992. Gleeson's book states that Gravano thought Gotti was plotting to murder him because of the FBI tapes which Gotti was caught speaking on that the prosecution team played at the pretrial hearing, to which Gravano told Gleeson sounded like Gotti was trying to convince Frank LaCasio to side with him to take Gravano out. Gleeson's book goes on to talk about everything he can recall about his time with Gravano throughout the trial, including Sammy ratting out all different gangsters he came across in his time in Cosa Nostra, including himself. The article continues on to explain more, but the moral of the story in this video, as you can see, is everything Sammy has been saying lately in regards to his cooperation against John Gotti just simply is not true. Gotti wasn't trying to make him take the fall for the murders they were charged with, as Gravano claims, but in fact, he was just scared that he was going to be whacked. If you enjoyed this video, please smash the subscribe and like button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to receive notifications on all new content. Also, you can now join the Wise Guy TV family by clicking the join button on the Wise Guy TV homepage. Thank you for watching, and until next time, it's Wise Guy TV.
Good fellas, wise guys.